So, I've entitled this Think Well or Fuck You in 22. And I do mean that. So, I am on a bit of a warpath when it comes to how people think. I've been real tolerant for a long time, and as much as I hate the fact that people are too emotional and not rational enough, I've really bitten my tongue a lot and figured, that if I tolerate them to a certain degree and I don't push them away, then they might come around, but it's not really working out that way. So, anyway, as we move into 2022, I'm going to be like that 22, which if you were to get shot in the head, has enough power to make it in to your skull, but not enough power to make it out. So it just ricochets inside of your brain and slices your brain up. Uh, high caliber guns, the bullet can go in one side of your skull and out the other and make a clean cut. And so you actually have a greater chance of living if you get shot in the head with a high caliber gun than with a low caliber gun. But anyway, so I'm going to be like that 22 that gets in your head and just ricochets around. Uh, and so, check this out. Plain and simple. If your bipolarity, your bipolar disorder is such that it creates a problem for me, fuck you in 22. If your schizophrenia is such that it creates a problem for me, fuck you in 22. I just got two people out of my life, one who's bipolar, one who's schizo, because their disorders created too much of a problem for me, and I just can't tolerate them anymore. So if your mental disorder creates a problem for me, fuck you in 22. If you're an atheist, fuck you in 22. If you exhibit any degree of cognitive dissonance on any front, fuck you in 22. One example of cognitive dissonance is this idea where, well, first of all, dissonance is a musical term, originally anyway. And when two instruments are being played and the sound doesn't blend together well, that's referred to as dissonance. And when your thoughts don't blend together well and they're not well connected, that's cognitive dissonance. One example is how some people, many people, believe that God is some kind of sweet pushover God, which is my pet peeve, by the way. But yet these same people will get up in your face and get real aggressive and assertive uh, and belligerent when you rub them the wrong way. So they believe that God is really sweet, but they believe that they have to be hard in order to deal with people and make people do right. So it's like, wait a minute, you're talking about the same group of people here. You have to go hard in order to make them do what you believe is right for them to do, but you don't think God has to ever go hard. You think God is some kind of sweet, loving pushover. Okay, and you look at the scriptures that say something about God exhibiting love. In some of those very scriptures that you call out to say it says that God is love, that same scripture or a verse right before or right after it uh, implies or clearly states that God does something harsh. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son to die a cruel death, right? In order to save the world, right? Okay, so when you consider the whole story, of why God sent his Son, then God doesn't seem so nice. Uh, God required that his Son had to die a cruel death in order for God to decide to forgive the world, okay? And there's more to the story than people acknowledge. And Jesus was earning a position. Uh, he didn't just have to die so that God's wrath would be appeased, and then Jesus gets no position in the hereafter. Jesus is going to rule the new earth. But anyway, uh, it's a matter of cognitive dissonance if you believe that you have to go hard on people to make them do right by you, or at least not do you wrong. But you believe that God is just some kind of sweet pushover. How is it that God can be so sweet and maintain order when you feel the need to go hard? Okay, so you got to connect your different thoughts so that they run together well, so that there's no dissonance, so that they blend together well and make some kind of sense. Okay, but anyway, so there's that. I'm not going to deal with anyone whose bipolarity is a problem for me, anybody whose schizophrenia is a problem with me, anybody who's an atheist, or anybody who exhibits a cognitive dissonance on any front. And the final thing that I'll say here, the final category that I'll give is this. So when it comes to women, I'm a firm believer in gender equality. Because I don't suffer from cognitive dissonance, I had to adjoin my thoughts about gender equality with my thoughts about God, because I don't believe that God supports gender equality. And so I do believe that the reason that God placed men over women is because God endowed men with the ability and the tendency to be rational, whereas women have more of a tendency to be emotional. And God knows that rationale is more powerful than emotion, and more necessary than emotion. And so, because God has given the man the more powerful mindset, he has also set the man in authority. Now, in order for me to justify my support for gender equality, I'd have to be able to make the case that at least some women can be rational. So I think of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah and how that Lot went to God and said, if I find 50 righteous men, will you spare the cities? And God said, okay, you find 50 righteous men, I'll spare the cities. Couldn't find 50. He said, well, if I find 20, will you spare the cities? God said, okay, if you find 20, I'll spare the cities. You got that 10, 5, 1. Lot could not find one righteous man in Sodom or Gomorrah, and so the guy's like, okay, I'm not going to spare the cities. I'm going to destroy them. And that's what God did. Well, when it comes to me arguing that I can justify my support for gender equality, um, I have to be able to make the case to God that some women, if not the majority, at least some women can be rational. And if I look the world over and I can't find a single woman who I would say is sufficiently rational, then God might look at me and say, okay, well, you can't justify your support for gender equality. You can't justify disobeying my commandments around men being the authorities. And therefore, Eric, you're toast, and so that's kind of what I see coming. And so I do what I can to be able to make the case that, hey, this one woman or this small number of women uh, is exhibiting rationale, but I really can't point to a single woman right now who I can say is so rational that I can be confident that God would agree. Okay, and if you can't wrap your head around the fact that God is a hard God, if you can't wrap your head around the fact that God is a God of necessary evils, even if I were to give you the full explanation on either matter, then I can't qualify you as rational. I mean, not that all men uh, understand those matters well enough, but men do have mechanical inclination that gets used in so many other ways, and so men wouldn't really have a hard time making the case to God that they can and will be rational to some degree. Okay, um, but I would say that the men are not sufficiently rational if they haven't wrapped their head around the idea that God is a hard God and that He's a God of necessary evils. They are not sufficiently rational if they haven't gained an understanding of those matters. Okay, but anyway, so I'm just not going to be so tolerant in 22 and I'm going to be quick to say fuck you in 22 if
Hello, Moto.
you be calling me now. Okay, but anyway, yeah. So if I don't like the way you think, then plain and simple, fuck you in 22. So I'm not going to deal with problematic schizophrenia, problematic bipolarity, atheism, cognitive dissonance, and women are going to have to understand that I'm going to speak to you in the same way that I speak to men. I'm not much for locker room banter, uh, Howard Stern, Donald Trump type stuff. You know, that's really not my thing. But what I don't do is I don't water down what I have to say because I'm speaking to a woman. Whatever reasoning I would talk about with men, I talk about it the same way with women. I'm not I'm not I'm not referring to relationship specific stuff, but general life issues, talking about politics or religion or society or the economy, any type of serious matter. I'm not going to water down what I have to say. I'm not going to water down what I have to say about abortion issues or gay rights. Okay, so as far as abortion is concerned, I'll go on to say this: that I don't tell anybody that they should or shouldn't have an abortion. Uh, I do have my opinion, my beliefs, my stance when it comes to abortion, but I don't push it off on anyone. Uh, and I just have bigger fish to fry. But here's something that I would say is if I find out that a woman who didn't have a serious health issue that prevented her from giving birth and living through it, uh, if it's not a matter of giving birth being dangerous for the woman, decreasing her health or altogether killing her, and if she completely disregarded the opinion of the prospective father, if she had an abortion against his will, then I'm not going to be mad at her for that. I'm just going to figure it makes her a fair game. You blew off how the man felt, even though he wanted you to have the baby. Yeah, it wasn't a health issue that required that you end the pregnancy so that you wouldn't die. Okay, but because you disregarded the desire of the man, assuming that he wasn't a rapist, okay, a child molester, that it's not that sort of thing, you disregarded the desires of the man who was not having sex under criminal circumstances, and you didn't have a health issue that caused you to have to end the pregnancy. Okay, so by you disregarding how the man felt under such circumstances, I would say that you can't complain if a man disregards how you feel, your emotions. Okay, so you just make yourself fair game. So man to man, you know, I don't expect to have to nurture a man's emotions. Okay, outside of an immediate trauma, house burning down, family member dying, outside of something that severe, uh, I don't expect to have to nurture a man's feelings or emotions. Okay, and so when it comes to women, I'm the same way. You know, you're not my girlfriend, you're not my wife, your emotions are not my responsibility. Uh, and so if it's not an immediate trauma, such as a death in the family, then no, I'm not going to treat you any differently than I treat men. I'm going to speak to you the same way I speak to men. I'm going to reason with you the same way I reason with men. I'm going to be objective with you just like I'm objective with men. Okay? And I'm not going to make any sort of special accommodations for how you feel or your fucking emotions. Okay? You're not my girlfriend. You're not my wife. And you're not dealing with a recent trauma. So fuck how you feel. You know, we're going to be for real and we're going to be rational. You know, and I actually like the idea of knowing that a certain woman is not my girlfriend, not my wife, not a prospective girlfriend or wife, because then I don't have to nurture her emotions and I can be 100% for real. And if she doesn't like it, fuck her. Maybe not physically, but fuck her mentally. Let her get the fuck on. And I like circumstances that make it very easy for me to be brutally honest and not to have to nurture emotions. So, you know, there may come that woman who decides that she's gonna calm the live wire down. I saw that sort of stuff when I lived down south in Florida, where if a man turned out to be some type of live wire, then there was always some woman who stepped up, like, "Hey, I think I got what it takes to calm him down," and that kind of thing. But hey, fuck it. I don't have to meet that woman who's gonna calm the live wire, but it just becomes easier for me to be brutally honest and straightforward with you if you're not my girlfriend, you're not my wife, you're not even prospective girlfriend. And when you, as a woman who was not raped and who did not have to have an abortion for medical reasons, if you disregarded the feelings of the prospective father, that just makes you fair game. So, like I say, I'm not mad at you. Just you disregarded how he felt. So don't get mad if I disregard how you feel. Okay, you said fuck you to him. If not in those particular words and in so many words and so, in such and such a way, you said fuck you to him and how he felt when he wanted to be a father. So that makes it easier for me to say fuck you. And don't expect any kind of special uh, emotional whatever the word is I'm looking for here, accommodations from me, you know. But I like the idea of men speaking to women who are not their wife and not their girlfriend in the same way they speak to other men. Okay. Again, I'm not encouraging locker room banter, but I am encouraging rational conversation. And when it comes to reasoning, don't water things down for the women because they're emotional. Just be rational with them, and if you don't make them privy to your masculine rationale, then you can't expect them to catch on and to be rational. I mean, some women have already begun to move in that direction, and they might not need you to show them how to do it. Maybe not, but if you just make it a point to speak to them the same way you speak to men, then they will be in an environment where rationale is being exhibited, and they might just absorb it through osmosis. So there you have it. But I'm really going to focus on these sorts of things uh, in 2022. And if you don't like anything I said here, fuck you in 22 and a few days before. All right.